Hello and welcome back to Genesis Designs bench and another little quick inbox for you. This time the Airfix Beach Buggy. It's just been re-released as part of the Vintage Classics range, and it's actually been a reasonably difficult one to get hold of. It was first released in 1973, so it's almost as old as your reviewer, and only, as far as I can tell, released again in 1979, so it's quite a welcome addition to the Vintage Classics range, if you like this kind of thing. So it's 1/32 scale. Bit of a stupid scale if you ask me, but back in the day, back at this time, that was the scale that Airfix were using on their cars and things, so it is what it is. So let's have a look at it then. Everything's in a little bag, as you can see. I've not been in there yet. Let's have a look what we get. Okay then, so got a little selection of very obviously classic Airfix sprues. Got that sort of a hexagon sort of shape to them. A little body shell. Now what I don't know, I can't honestly tell you, is whether this is based on any real actual beach buggy design or not, if it's just a sort of a random Airfix designer's fantasy of a buggy. It doesn't really look exactly like any of the ones I'm familiar with, to be honest with you, but it doesn't really matter, it's just a bit of fun. But here you go, here's a little body shell. And despite its age, it's moulded really nicely. There's no real flash on here. It has been released from the sprues already at the factory, which isn't necessarily a good thing, but those are going to be quite hard to clean up anyway because of that sort of moulding detail along the bottom edge. There's also a tiny bit of short shot here on the mudguard area. Shall I call it a mudguard? The fender. Here's your chassis, that's the bottom. Proudly mentions that it was made in 1971, so it's actually older than your reviewer. Woohoo! Finally found something older than me. So if you don't know, these sort of buggies were generally based on the VW Beetle chassis, which is what this is. Alright then, next up, what we got here? Some wheels. Sort of a random, kind of a combination of a Porsche look-alike alloy and a mag slot type rim there. Again, probably just made up. And I can see here we've got some rocker covers, some cylinders, some exhaust pipes, heat exchangers and what have you. Quite a nice fin detail on these rocker covers, which is not standard. A standard Beetle doesn't have fin detail on the rocker covers because they're just stamped steel. So be sure to paint those in an aluminium colour. Here we have some tyres in two pieces. More cylinder detail. There's your alternator stand and oil filler, or dynamo stand as it would have been on one this old. And here we have front axle, gearbox, spring plates for the rear suspension. That's the spine of the chassis to fit on the top. Thus, that's the bottom of the engine there, and the swing axles for the rear suspension there. So it's quite complete for such a small scale. And then finally, some very 70s looking bucket seats, bit of bulkhead detail, dashboard, steering wheel, pedals, and some peoples. And I'll bring these up a bit closer for you, but those figures are beautifully sculpted when you consider the age of this kit, really. Absolutely lovely. Moustache bloke in necktie with his fit girlfriend off for a day racing around on the beach in the buggy. Very cliched indeed. Here's the decal sheet, suitably sparse, just a couple of number plates, some horns, don't know, and a Union Jack. No idea what the horns are all about. Perhaps Jonathan can expand. So the instructions then. Standard fold out paper jobby. And as you can probably immediately realise, these diagrams are old school Airfix diagrams, and they've just sort of relabelled the parts and change the paint numbers, because this would have been Airfix paint numbers back in the day, wouldn't it? And you can see there how this builds up to a reasonably complete representation of a VW chassis, to be fair. That's pretty good. And with the body on top and the wheels. Painting instructions equally sparse. Put your horns, one on the front, toot toot, one on the front, one on the back. Recommends gloss orange for the main body colour. Clearly with something like this, you're going to just paint it whatever colour you fancy, aren't you? I think with buggies, it's essentially the law that they get painted in some kind of metal flake, I think. It's rare that you see a buggy that isn't some sort of overly sparkling colour. Certainly when I do this, and this would make a great little weekend project if you paint the body shell up beforehand. Be a cracking little sort of quick one to do over a weekend. And I mean, I would literally be looking to try and finish this in some kind of candy sort of metal flake sort of colour, a purple or a red or an orange, because that tends to be what you see them in. So great little kit. So I got this one from Andy at Antics. Andrew Hills at Antics sent this over. Oh, I forgot the transparencies. You do get a windscreen, that's that one, and a rear windscreen slash wind sort of blocker. I'm not sure I'd bother fitting that, honestly. Some headlamp glasses and indicators and what have you on your clear parts there. And again, they've all come out nice. I think maybe this kit hasn't been moulded millions and millions of times because there is just very little to no evidence of mould damage and flash and things like that. It's really good. Anyway, where was I? Antics. Yes, Andy sent me this over. Cost for this kit is £9.99 in the UK, so 10 quid. Pretty sensible price, really. I think maybe it could have been a couple of quid less. Certainly wouldn't want it to be any more than that. But people who are interested in this kit, it's not really going to be interested because they desperately want to build a model of a random fiberglass buggy. It's more of a nostalgia trip, isn't it? With, you know, us of a certain age, looking back in the day, you'd have seen these kits about, may have built it before when you were a kid perhaps, and really that's what this vintage classics range is aimed at, and it's quite unashamedly aimed at that, with the box art being a replication of the original pretty much. So I think it's decent value. It's very, very nicely moulded, belies its age absolutely. I don't doubt it's going to need a little bit of prep and fettling to get it together, but I reckon I might well just smash this out over a weekend in a relatively soon, just to try it out. And obviously I'll let you know how that goes. And just quickly before I go, I wanted to do a little on-air thank you. This channel, the Genesis YouTube channel, has now been up and running pretty much for a year. I opened the YouTube account in August last year. Can't remember when I posted my first video, but I don't think it was straight away. And I'm absolutely bowled over by the way that the channel's progressed in that short time. I'm just over 2,000 subs now, which is beyond any expectation I ever had so soon, honestly. I think I said in my intro video that what I wanted to achieve from this was a sort of to build a bit of a community and to get people talking and modelling, and without wanting to toot my own horn, if you'll excuse the pun, I think that's starting to happen. I'm seeing people, familiar faces, starting to pop up in the comments, and we're getting discourse going, and I'm really happy with it so far. And yeah, I just wanted to extend a wholehearted and very big thank you to all of you for continuing to watch these videos and support the channel, and long may it continue. Anyway, with that said, I'll get off and I'll do the next one. So here it is, the Airfix 132nd Vintage Classics Beach Buggy. Lovely little kit, well pleased I picked this one up, and highly recommended to anybody who's interested in nostalgic modelling or air-cooled VW based kit cars. Okay, so see you on the next one, and until then, look after yourselves, look after each other, and Genesis out.